Hello, everyone. This is Pat Foley, continuing our interview series for recruitinginfo.com. I've talked to a lot of really accomplished and interesting people during this process, but I would say perhaps my next guest, Ken Chertow, has one of the strongest backgrounds from an athlete perspective. His own personal athletic background is really impressive. Ken was a three-time academic all-star. This is in wrestling. A three-time academic all-star, three-time NCAA all-star, two-time junior national champ, two-time junior world champ, and Olympic festival champ, and he was an Olympian as well. So just an incredible background as an athlete. And then he's also gone on to coach in the wrestling programs, two great wrestling programs. He's coached at Penn State, he's coached at Ohio State. And now he currently runs Ken Chertow Wrestling, his own organization. So I think he's sort of well versed in the world of college athletics. So I look forward to speaking with him. Ken, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Ken Chertow Wrestling?
Hey, well, thank you for having me. I'm with you on your mission. I'm excited to help people of all sorts of walks of life, all sports, find opportunities to wrestle in college. Let's use sports as a vehicle to train for life, teach the lessons of life, and then use it as a segue to find opportunities to continue our sports that we grow passion for, to compete in college and to find good fits. I mean, I'm a Penn State graduate. Not everybody's going to Penn State. Not everybody's going to Harvard. There's all sorts of options out there. And as a longtime college coach and a wrestling camp director, I'm all about finding opportunities for my athletes to find the ideal fit and to earn scholarship money. I mean, if you're going to do this, if you're going to play sport from age 8 to 18, you're going to do this year round and commit your life, and the parents are going to pour all this time, energy, and ultimately money into supporting you. Let's make it pay off by finding the ideal college and a good economical opportunity too. So one of my missions as a wrestling camp director, I run my own camp, so the gold medal training camp system, is to help kids improve, excel, succeed in life. And to do that, maximize the college opportunities and college scholarship opportunities. So I'm always talking to my athletes and talking to parents and trying to help them ascertain what level might be. First of all, is it Division I or is it small college? Mm-hmm. And if it's small college, find the different fits and different academics, different geographies. If it's big college, well, there's so many different options and sizes and locations and courses of study. And ultimately, from an athletic standpoint, you mentioned this, Pat, as we were talking, finding the coach that's the right fit for you too. I mean, you want to find the school, location, the course of studies that works for you, but the coach-athlete relationship is very important too. That's so I've been on different ends of it. As an athlete coming out of high school, I came from West Virginia. Wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. So I looked around, though. I had proven myself and had some opportunities to visit different areas, different coaches, and you meet different people. And then I had the opportunity as a college coach, you mentioned earlier, in introducing me. I coached wrestling at Penn State, Ohio State. I was the recruiting coordinator. I had the opportunity to be on the other end, trying to help understand which kids might fit best with our program, what parents might be the most supportive as opposed to the overzealous families, and which kids are motivated by themselves versus maybe just driven by their mom and dad pushing them, and they might not succeed in college. And all these are little variables that go into play. Something else unique you didn't mention, and I mean, thanks for the long intro. I appreciate it. A few years ago, I did a bucket list item. I started a new program, a new sport at Queen's University of Charlotte, down there in Charlotte, North Carolina. I started wrestling, Division II wrestling. So that was a unique experience too, and really exploring the niche of the small college wrestling in a private school as opposed to a big school.
That's a great point, because I think, a key thing in recruiting the parents need to learn is that there's the Division II schools are so many options there. And it's also, as you go down in the divisions, it's more likely that you're going to get, whether it's in terms of scholarship or financial aid, but financial aid is much more available at the lower levels.
Yeah, good point. And to be clear, so obviously Division I has certain levels of scholarships. In wrestling, it's 9.9 for a whole team. That's like a couple per year. They could be split up. The Division II scholarship level is pretty good too. There's 9 scholarships for schools that give the full allotment. But as you know, Patrick, the Division III private schools, and then also there's the NAIA schools too, that are very driven on academics, and you get academic money and financial
Yeah.
need-based money. And rest assured, yeah, financial need is based on financial need, but if you're a good athlete, you're a motivated person, they
They'll
reach
find the
out to you
financial
for
need.
good packages.
Yes, they will work with you. Absolutely. And another point that you made, that, and I see this as, being involved in a lot of different programs. The administrator of a club, it does vary quite a bit as to how active the administrator of a club is in providing what I think is a super important value, which is guiding that process of recruitment, educating the parents, educating the child, making connections, and because if you have a good network, you've been in the game long enough, you know people at different colleges, and you can kind of steer people in the right direction. I think that's a really important trait of someone who's running a good program. So I'm glad to hear you reference that.
Yes, sir.
So what is going on in wrestling right now? So, I mean, obviously this spring, everything was shut down. Where are you, where is the sport of wrestling right now in terms of getting turned back on?
Well, hey, I'm located in Pennsylvania, so we are on. It is the green zone. Let's be more clear, right? You're in Philly, so I think you might still be
Yeah,
yellow.
we just,
I'm in rural Pennsylvania. I live where Penn State University is, and we are green. And I have my wrestling camp is July 12th through 24th. We have 2-week camps. We have shorter camps too for less experienced kids and beginners. So
yeah.
my camp is here in State College. We use a hotel conference center. We wrestle, eat, and sleep there. And that's the scoop on what I have going on this summer. As far as for you wrestlers out there that are looking for wrestling opportunities or beginners that want to try it, I'm July 12th through 24th here in State College, Pennsylvania. And that's where I live, and this is where I went to college as well here at Penn State.
So it's great to hear that you're back on, and I've noticed that. I mean, it certainly is situational. Where you're located dictates right now where you are on the color chart, and I think most are now at yellow. I don't know where New York is, but we're now at yellow, and we're starting to look late in the summer to get our sports back on. But hopefully, our parks can open soon. What have you seen in wrestling? When is it typical for someone who's gonna commit? Is that something that happens in junior year, or is it something that tends to wait till senior year? What's the
Well, specifically to wrestling, I mean, you definitely start looking around when you enter high school and start thinking about it, exploring. And I think that's true for any sport. But you got to start thinking about it in middle school. You got to start thinking about getting great grades.
Well, thank God they don't let you commit in middle school anymore like they used to. But yeah, you certainly start thinking about it if you're a top athlete.
Yeah. And then the superstars, they'll verbally commit as early as sophomore year. And very, very real commitments. But most of the kids that are good, that are scholarship Division I athletes, are committing as juniors. Mm-hmm. And then it's a free for all, senior year. The guys didn't get picked up by the major Division I's, and then most Division II, Division III smaller college athletes, they're making their decisions during their senior year, ideally in the fall of their senior year, but sometimes it lingers on into the spring. Every family's different. Every situation's different. Some kids are late bloomers. Sure. Wrestling's a winter sport, so maybe they reach their peak potential in March of their senior year. So they choose the biggest possible school they can get to in April or May. So every situation is different.
Did most of the high school season get in this year before COVID hit? Okay.
Yes, that's accurate. The Pennsylvania State Tournament finished the first weekend of March, and that was it. And then things shut down there the second week of March. So most of the country was able to get through wrestling season. The NCAA Division I wrestling tournament got canceled because that is around the time of the March Madness basketball tournament. So our NCAA tournament was canceled. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, same for basketball, obviously, and same for all the spring sports. But yeah, fortunately for wrestling, our state tournaments did get completed in almost every state in the nation except for Ohio. Ohio was scheduled for March 13th, and as you know, the quarantine started around March 10, 11, 12, it said that time frame.
So I guess, and this is hopeful, I suppose, for the players and the programs, I guess recruiting in wrestling is probably not as badly impacted as it is for some other sports, because the coaches were able to, see kids at these tournaments. You've got video. Like if you're a senior, you've still got good video. that kind of thing. So you're probably dealing with a situation where the pattern, other than the fact that there couldn't be visits for a while, but am I right to say that recruiting in your sport is not going to be as badly impacted as some of the others?
Identification of the top talent is not as badly hampered because we had a winter season. Certainly, the recruiting process was uniquely different these
Mm-hmm.
past couple months. So it was certainly for the kids that hadn't picked, which is probably more than half of them, they had to figure it out electronically, virtually, as a challenging process. But really, at this point, most of it's been done, and we're already looking towards the junior class. So the kids that are just finished their junior year, those superstars, they didn't have much of a chance to look at their schools in the spring, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll get plenty of chance in the summer, and it'll all be fine. So wrestling was not too badly hampered by the timing of the virus at the high school level. Now, all the postseason spring extra wrestling that kids do in all sports, anybody that plays, right? Anybody watching this is serious about college scholarship and playing their sport 6, 8, 10 months or more out of the year. They've lost some quality training perhaps in the
Sure.
spring and opportunities to be identified.
With your kids, were you encouraging any kind of training, like self-training, to keep in some kind of shape during this downtime?
Well, absolutely, physical training. I mean, and for wrestling, I mean, if you can go lift weights, do push-ups, calisthenics, hit a good hard run, shadow drill, pretend you're moving, do stuff. There's a lot of things you can do. I mean, a couple months off is not going to make or break anybody, especially when everybody had those same 2 months off. So
Yeah.
it's not a deal breaker. But certainly, yeah, I encourage high-level fitness, high-level nutrition. I'm a nutrition guy. I mean, I'm actually in the wellness business. I represent pure nutrition. I'm talking to kids about eating clean all the time. So obviously, when you're quarantined and can't exercise as much, I'm emphasizing that even more and telling them to eat pure and live pure and
Right.
take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's great. That's important. And how many kids right now do you have in your programs, or how many come out to your camps? What does it look like?
Well, I froze summer camp enrollment during March, April there. I mean, we didn't know what was going on, but here as the last few weeks, we already have 80 enrolled for this summer. And we just opened, got the ball rolling here the past few weeks. So I have a well-established company. My summer camp's been around for over 20 years. We have an established situation. We'll fill the camp. There's different age groups. So there might be 20 kids in the 6 to 8-year-old beginner division. There might be 25 permitted in the 9 to 10-year-old division. But overall, in totality, we'll permit 200 wrestlers to come to camp, and they'll be in different areas, and it'll be small groups and segmented, especially with the social distancing situation. We'll be catering to those needs. But we're well on our way to.
How do you handle social distancing in wrestling?
Well, that's a great question, huh? Well, the one-on-one part of it, you're obviously conceding that, okay, I'm with this guy. I know this guy. I'm going to work out with him. That's who I'm with. It's your brother, your friend. You're with that small group of people. And the same thing in that other small group of, 4 to 6 people who you're going to be training with. But we're going to keep them from integrating. We don't want them to have exposure to 30 different partners.
I gotcha.
We don't want to go. And then the meal situation's the same deal. Stick with that same group of people the whole time. So you're minimizing risk. Can you ever eliminate risk from society, let alone sports?
Right.
Not really.
Yeah, and thankfully, young athletes are about as low on the risk scale as you can get. But you can't eliminate risk. And I'm a big believer in you referenced this earlier, the positive power of youth sports. There's just a lot of documentation of the impact that it has. Not only does it give you more educational options, but it just participation in it comes with so many other benefits that discipline and teamwork and learning to take instructions. It's all good stuff, and it's been troubling to see that sort of interrupted in America, and it's great to hear that you're back at it.
Yes, sir. You're preaching to the choir. We need to keep youth playing, keep them exercising, keep them fit, and hey, keep them away from their grandparents if their grandparents are not healthy. I mean, use common sense. And I'm socially responsible, and I understand the magnitude of the science. We need to limit the risk, but we can't shut down society for any longer. At this point, we need to
it's time
back to a safe normal.
I agree. Well, that's a great note to close on here, Ken. Again, I really appreciate the time that you took, and I appreciate the work that you're doing out there, and I hope you have a great summer.
You too. Keep up the great work, giving these kids opportunities to reach college, and let's reach for the stars, shoot for the
Yep.
top.
Amen. Thanks a lot.